I just got back from watching the new Pinocchio horror film, and it was definitely on the top 3 worst movies I've seen all year. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like so terrible that I was just sitting there bored, but it was an enjoyable show to watch overall. If you guys don't know, like the directors of this movie, basically all they do is wait till like IPs of like public beloved characters go public, and then they're turning them into like slasher horror films. Here, you guys, I'll show you an example. Like their first movie they ever made was Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2023, which is the only one I watched of the series. I haven't seen Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, and Bambi the Reckoning, but I saw Pinocchio Unstrung. It was just as bad as the Winnie the Pooh movie, but I can't believe there's like actually an audience for these movies to the point where they're making money to be able to keep making these movies. Who is going and watching this? They're calling it like the, oh, there it is. They're calling it the Pooniverse. And I was reading some reviews. There's genuinely like a whole fandom of people that for some reason like to see like beloved childhood characters just become evil in like slasher gore films, and they're not. It's not even like a good horror film at all. There's no tension. Pinocchio. Let me show y'all. Pinocchio was just like not scary whatsoever. I already explained the whole appeal. And apparently the directors are building towards like a movie later on, which is like a Pooniverse movie, where it's like an Avengers style film where all these beloved characters come together and basically are all killers, which is also going to be a shit movie once again. Unfortunately, this movie is another case where the concept is better than how it portrayed on screen. The movie never felt scary. Like you see the Pinocchio character, it was cheap. It like wasn't scary. The voice actor for Pinocchio was just this like, I mean, obviously like a little boy, you know, like Pinocchio is, but like the voice acting, it was just like this beloved little character was running around just like murdering people, and he had this like soft, sweet voice the entire movie. It just didn't fit, and it was terrible. And instead of like building tension and like making you feel scared like any normal horror movie would, it just results to like the Terrifier, like just like extreme gore equals good type of movie, which is just I just hate. I hate gore movies. I think the only gore movies that were actually kind of like scary and enjoyable were kind of like the Saw films. Other than that, like I don't personally like watching Terrifier movies. I also do not enjoy these movies either, to where like it's just extreme gore, and that's like the only thing that's like scary in the movie, which it just doesn't work for me, and it's not enjoyable to watch. It's just like you just sit there all queasy watching the shit. One of my biggest complaints was just like the voice actor of the little kid. It just wasn't creepy. It just sounded so awkward, especially like at one scene he's like killing somebody. He was like, "You must die now," like in the most like soft, easy voice. So it just like felt off. It just felt off, and it just wasn't scary. It was stupid. I think the directors know at this point that the movie is supposed to be stupid, so they kind of play into it a little bit. Like the first gore scene, it was just like Pinocchio scared some people in like a gym, and then some girl somehow fell off a treadmill and then like cracked her neck open, and then when she cracked her neck open, a 45-pound plate slid off like a rack and like smashed her head and brains everywhere, and I was just like, okay, bro. All right, for the gore fans out there, it wasn't even like good gore. It was like it just didn't make sense at all. Like at one point, some girl gets hit with a sledgehammer in the face, and it's just not realistic. The next second after she gets hit, her face is just completely like half off. And I was like, there's just no way. They were just like going way too into it. And that's what they relied on, was the kills of the movie for sure. I mean, I guess there was one cool gore scene, a kill, which was Pinocchio stuck his nose into like somebody else's nose, and then he just kept lying, so his nose kept growing and like stabbed the guy through the brain. So that, I guess that was a cool kill if I had to give the gore of this fucking movie any praise, because that's definitely what they relied on the entire time. So the plot basically follows this little boy named James, and the Pinocchio doll is basically trying to be friends with James, and they end up becoming friends. And why he starts killing is because he wants to like protect James at all costs, and then like some other doll in the basement is telling him that he needs to protect James by killing people. So he goes out and starts killing people, like the dentist who pulled out James' tooth because he thought the dentist was hurting him. Basically, after it introduces like the beginning of the plot, like of the boy trying to get protected, then it just jumps into like the kills, and it's just there's just no plot. It just goes from one kill, and then he goes to the next kill, and then he goes to the next person, and they just want to increase the body count and obviously show off more of like the gore in the movie. Obviously, these movies have like cheap budgets, so Pinocchio looked like shit, and then for some reason like they needed to include like the cricket, kind of like the original film, but the cricket just looked so terrible. Like CGI was the worst thing in the entire movie was this stupid little cricket. Every time you saw it on screen, you could just tell how like shit and cheap and like ass it was. And at that point, they could have just built on something else rather than spending money on their budget for this horrible looking cricket to even be in the film. He wasn't even significant. He was in the film for maybe like 20 minutes and did absolutely nothing to the plot. He just kind of was like, "You need to kill people, kid." It was not good. But yeah, like I said, there is an actual audience for this movie. Like my theater today was basically damn near full, but it was also a Saturday, so it might just be like people were out like trying to just watch something. But there was people in the theater like sitting and laughing too, which I was laughing too at some points just because you're just laughing at like a shit show. I really don't want to ever watch one of these movies again, but if I had to be forced to rate one of them, I gotta watch the Avengers one because that's just gonna be insane. And to talk about some of the acting, the acting was also just very laughable. Like most of the time, I mean, they are kids and it is a cheap budget, so I mean, they're kids just learning how to act, but you could obviously tell that like it's children that are not very good at acting. So that was funny. And then like also like not even just the children, like the adults, that like the people that get killed like aren't even that good at acting. They don't sound that scared. Pinocchio is not terrifying. Now I'm gonna get into like spoilers here, so if you do care about this shit show, click off now. That's your warning. But basically, at the end of the movie, it turns out the puppet master, the guy who created Pinocchio, was the evil one in the first place, right? He was like killing people, and then like they would grow into the root of this tree, and then he would carve them off the tree and bring them to life, and that's how he was able to create Pinocchio. And Pinocchio was like his perfect creation. At the end of the movie, the puppet master comes home and sees the kids. He actually like murders one of the kids, which was like crazy to me. Obviously, they didn't show too much gore on the screen at that part, but they literally like he shotgunned a child, which was pretty freaking gnarly to include in the movie. And then he goes downstairs because they're basically trying to save Pinocchio because he's trying to kill Pinocchio. So then he goes downstairs, he's going to kill this girl that witnessed it. Somehow she ends up surviving, and then Pinocchio gets a hold of his gun and shoots the puppet master, and that's how it all ends. And then they're outside, they're watching their like house burn, and it was funny. Like the people, and I started laughing too. The people in the theater started laughing though, because at the end of the movie, we just watched this little Pinocchio doll go and murder like, I don't know, 12 different people in the movie. And the kids forgave him and were basically trying to say that, oh, he didn't know any better. He was just trying to protect James. And I was like, what do you mean this fucking crazy doll just went and murdered people? So that was a hilarious part to end off the movie. If you like watching hilariously bad fucking movies, then I guess I would suggest it. If you're trying to just go see a bad fun watch, you might have a good time, but I would maybe wait until it's streaming to watch it rather than spend your hard-earned cash to go sit in a movie theater and watch this. I can't believe they're even in the theaters. This is some shit you would see on like Tubi. How is this in the theater? It's because there's an audience for it. It's wild. You won't be scared whatsoever at watching this movie. You'll just be laughing and a little uncomfortable. The Puniverse basically continues to prove there's a real audience for this like turning beloved childhood characters into villains, but these movies never deliver. But if you go read some of the reviews, you'll definitely see there's a big audience for these that wait for these to drop every time. I don't really like these movies. I'm not into the whole gore shit. Not my thing. And on top of that, I also do not really enjoy shit movies as much as I do good movies. So overall, that's what I think of the movie. Now, if I were to have to give this a score on Rotten Tomatoes, our Rotten Tomato rating of this movie, I give this movie, honestly, I was gonna give it 2.5 stars, but it's so shit. It's so shit. We gotta honestly give it a 1.5 stars. I just can't give that movie a 2 star, especially on a platform like Rotten Tomato. It's a slop film. You know, it's lazy, throwaway, cash grab because there's a fucking weird niche audience for this. But shout out to the directors. You know, they found a little loophole. And I wonder what characters next that they will turn into like a murderer slasher movie. So 1.5 stars is what we're rating the movie. And yeah, that's basically my thoughts on this Pinocchio scary movie. I didn't know really that, but yeah, that's basically my thoughts on this Pinocchio scary movie. I kind of knew that it was going to be bad going into it, which is why I went and watched it. And I was correct. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today.